Good evening, everyone. Welcome to On the Couch. Magpie fever has taken over the country as Craig McRae's boys continue on their merry way. Can you peak too early? Well, 17 other teams certainly hope so. The Kangas, the Saints and the Bombers, they're all undefeated, while the Cats, Dockers and Dogs, all finalists, yet to open their account. Who would have thought? So much to talk about, and Todd Goldstein to join us on the couch. Welcome everyone, round two, extraordinary round. Thank goodness we have light in here tonight, lads, after the events of the weekend.
Well, that's what you do for my shirt tonight, Gary. I brought the light.
I told you to laugh if you didn't like it. You like it stunned up.
Very good, mate.
Extraordinary
nice start. You worked on that all weekend. It was great to see, but it was extraordinary. And I think the Lions a bit hard done by. They could have got run over. Imagine Chris Fagan if the Lions had been rolled.
Yeah, would have been the end of it.
After being 40
I don't know whether he would have come back to the next week coaching coach's box. Bucks, welcome.
How are you guys? High transition again. We've seen a lot of end-to-end footy. Less tackling, less pressure and just more open play.
Well, the ball's moving too fast. Speaking of lights, Collingwood Footy Club. We were at the ground on Saturday, and anyone that watched it and sat back who was either there or watched it on Fox Footy, you couldn't help but be impressed. I mean, we're all prone to exaggeration from time to time and always, you know, this footy's the best sort or this player is the best of his era, but gee, even when Richmond were going and Melbourne were going, I can't remember a team that was going like this. When I say going, I mean moving the ball as fast.
There is some recency bias with that. So, and obviously, their first two rounds were amazing. 125 and 135 points. Offensive weapons everywhere and a style of play that is making the most of what they've got.
Yeah, I think most football lovers, we love, as much as we love to hate the Pies, we love the way they play because it's exciting. Not you, mate.
Beautiful.
He's come in clearly and just giving them confidence to really just keep pulling the trigger with all these sorts of things. You go, why are they the premiership favourites, Gas? You know, the numbers speak for themselves, don't they? Especially in the attacking side of things, like ball movement team #1, #2 for ball use, #3 for contest and clearance. You got to have a, there's not many things going wrong there, and they've been able to fix this part of it. That's what I love over the off-season. They've gone, rightio, what's an area we can improve on? They've gone out and fixed this clearance side of the thing.
So you put the board up, Bucks, and you look at it quickly and go, oh, yeah, they're good at ball movement and ball use. But these are really significant changes. I mean, they did so much right last year, right? So we're not talking about a team. When we look at these numbers, we're not talking about a team coming off a 3-win season. We're coming off a team who were a preliminary finalist, and yet they still are able to make these big steps. No,
there was a train of thought about not being able to win as many close games, and then the other one was we can go even better still. And that number there shows you the improvement. Yeah, that's only 5 games ago. They were -54 in their last game against Carlton, which they ended up going and winning. But contested ball and clearance was an issue in the back half of last year. But it was
So they bolstered their midfield numbers?
Well, I think Tay Adams is fit and he helps. Tom Mitchell's come in and he thickens the soup in there. But they've just gone to work and they've done better. You know, they're getting their hands on the ball. I think Darcy Cameron's performance on the weekend was strong enough.
8 coaches' votes.
Yeah, and they're sharing the load. It's not one person that does it, and we'll see that in the
just on Darcy Cameron, an 18 disposal game, 16 of them were contested. So when that game was there to be won, I thought he was the most significant player on the ground. So you talk about making decisions as a footy club and they go through. Well, hard in mouth a bit when Brodie Grundy moves, and then you go and put your faith in Darcy Cameron, and he franked it on the weekend. It was a stunning.
What was your initial thoughts, though, Gaz, when they're putting the eggs in the basket of Darcy Cameron and Mason Cox to let Grundy go? What was your initial thought?
Yeah, no, I certainly didn't think Darcy Cameron was capable of getting to the level that he has again on the weekend. So clearly what you guys know is much greater than we know. So we superficially can judge it, but they've lost nothing. In fact, they've gained on recent times.
Well, Darcy Cameron had been there for 3 years, and in the pre-season of 2020 when he first came, he made an immediate impact, and we knew that he had that capacity as a ruckman. The guy that we need that everyone's talking about is Nick Dacos. And I reckon having a look at the way Craig McRae used him brilliantly last year, and it's just gone to another level this year. If you can see just a couple of the flips that we're using. So Dacos was tagged by Lachie Jones, who's in at the centre bounce with him there. Now Penderbury's come out of the midfield and assumed the role that Dacos was in for the most part. But this is the type of connection that Nick Dacos and the rest of the Collingwood players have. So they're working out there now. Am I going to go back to midfield or halfback, or are we going to leave it as it is? And you've got Pendlebury that can play that role, Crisp who can play that role, and obviously Nick Dacos, and they have been flipping and changing. Now this ball goes forward. There's a dispute and a rolling maul, which Collingwood have been really good at winning in the last couple of weeks. The ball spills out. Stop there. Pendlebury's positioning off Power Pepper is just the most dangerous position. It goes forward to Tay Adams' goal. Fast forward, end of the second quarter, still Sidebottom's on the wing. Nick Dacos is a halfback. All of a sudden, Nick Dacos as a halfback is at the stoppage, and still Sidebottom drops all the way back for support. Here with his brother late in the last quarter. Started in the midfield, you go to the wing. Josh, he's now sweeping as a midfielder, and Nick Dacos is a winger. We're not talking about mugs that he's changing with. So yes, you want to look for Nick Dacos and try and keep a hold on him. And we saw how ineffective the run with role was on him on the weekend. But when you've got blokes like Pendlebury and Sidebottom and Crisp and De Goey and Adams and Josh Dacos that are flipping around with him, it's a hard ask.
It's great vision. But what about during the week? Craig McRae, when he said, if I was coaching against Nick Dacos, I'd be tagging him. Yeah. Is he tempting Kenny Hinkley into a trap? It's a master stroke.
Mild-mannered Craig McRae, butter would melt in his mouth. He's just sold.
Was he setting a trap?
Sold the greatest pup of all time. Yeah, go on, do it. Because then they dictate. Like he dictates everything. So we can show it, and you showed it beautifully. So the position he's playing is genuine centre half-back. Yeah, he's a centre and half-back.
Yeah, and I think when it's not Nick Dacos, it's Pendlebury. If it's not Pendlebury, it's Crisp. They only play with 5 defenders.
Yeah, so there's a challenge though now, right? So for Richmond this week, it's go, OK, if that's what it's got to be, then he has to pay. Someone's got to pay. They've got to try and that's much easier said than done when they're winning contested footy at the source and all that, and Nick can take liberties because he knows he's got the support. But you've got to, like even in a centre bounce, he goes to the top of the 50-metre zone and Lockie Jones just went with him, and then he went bang into the middle. Now, Lockie Jones has got to peel off. They've got to make him make more of a decision than he is right now because he's absolutely in the driver's seat.
Well, when you win contested ball by 60, you can do whatever you like off the back. It gives you the licence to go and to run. But
you've got to ask a question, though. You have to still continue to make him turn his head and wonder. Because right now he's not. He's just going like this, and he's a half-back flanker.
Yep, first things first, you get your hands on it, then you can ask the opposition defence a question. But Collingwood have had both sorted on the weekend.
I think the one aspect of the game that's won all footy fans over is the ball movement. So it's almost this gung-ho style. Now, we know it's got layers to it. But I was speaking to Craig McRae 18 months ago when he first came in, he said, look, I think the strongest part of the team, or arguably the strongest part of the team, is the defence. Got a lot of talented defenders there, so be prepared to give them one-on-ones, leave them one-on-one, and just attack and move the ball with a bit more freedom.
So what that does, then it's asked the question of the opposition defence, who have for so long been involved in zone defence and had ruckman drop them back into a hole, and they play off their man and they take liberties, and it's been a pretty good run for a half-back. This is centre wing. Tom Jonas is in the bottom here with McCreery. He's thinking, oh, I'm OK here. And he's not too bad. His positioning right now is OK. He goes some of the way, but they're so conditioned to drop off. I'll drop off. I'll go into a hole. That's gone in the blink of an eye from centre wing to McCreery on the half-forward flank. He goes back.
That'd be a nightmare to play.
Goes back and kicks a goal. So defenders now, and this is not just Collingwood, this is the numbers across the board are saying the transition from one end to the other is so quick that you have to defend. And I reckon that's great, Brownie. We'll find out who can defend one-on-one in this modern game.
The other one, as you're saying, with the defence to support, they actually Collingwood hold their forwards quite deep. So you'll see them quick kick out of a congestion or out of contest if there's a scrimmage, because they know they've got even numbered forwards in front of the ball. And the numbers have been through the roof, the capacity to win in the forward 50. Collingwood in the first 2 rounds are +10 simply in the forward 50, differential between their forwards winning the ball and the opposition's backs. The rest of the competition are -930 touches in that same position against the same cohort.
So the Pies are holding their forwards back, so they've got even numbers, essentially, when they go in there. So usually defences, they go quick, exactly. Usually defences have got the outnumber, haven't they? But you go in and it's 6v6 or 7v7, they're prepared to even the numbers up.
And the other thing you watch when you're there at a game, and it's so good, is that they will go for everything, right? Yeah. They're pulling the trigger on kicks that no other team in the comp's having a crack at the moment. Third hardest in 2023, #1 rated kicking team. Now, this you might go, OK, what's that? Well, that's down the line. It has to be precise because it's a 2-on-1. He takes the mark.
The forwards playing in front, which they're doing really well.
Now, we'll see some instances here of players just, he kicks a point in the end, might check. But hitting targets when you'd expect AFL players to hit targets. But even this, look at that. Now, it misses this one, right? But they win it back in the middle of the ground. They don't care.
This kick here from side bottom, that one, now it's a disputed ball, but he already knows that he's got all his forwards that are lengthened off. Yeah. So he's not mucking around with a handball or another kick, he's going forward. Yeah,
it doesn't make it unless that first one goes into the middle when it's the 2-on-1 against, and then they started hitting them lace out. So there's so many boxes ticked here. And then you have a look at who are the players. So who are the ones that are just biting a bit off but then completing them. Some pretty good...
Mainly experienced players there, but you got to, Bobby Hill's come in there, obviously Nick Dacos, the younger player, and the guys, all of the team would have got tremendous confidence out of those finals last year where they did that, Gaz. We know that second half against Sydney, they were down by a long way. They took the game on, they pulled the trigger, so they know it stands up in the toughest tests.
I don't know if you can peak too early or not, but it's just unbelievably exciting to watch. And again, they've ruined it for those that didn't like Collingwood because you can't help but love the way they're playing their footy.
Most attractive team to watch.
Richmond won't.